So, anyone out there still listening to jazz? Some adult contemporary, distinguished gentleman music?
Fine glass of wine, suit, put it on. What do you think?
This video is going to get 3 views. Letter from Home is the 6th album from Pat Metheny Group, one of the more gifted jazz guitarists, certainly of his time and potentially of all time. I discovered this, as most distinguished gentlemen do, you know, it's a late night, long day of work, they come home and they put on their adult contemporary Pandora radio, right? One of the songs, 557, came on, and man, I fell in love with it instantly. Ooh. It's really subtle music too, but when you look at how it's actually played, it's super complicated. It's almost like prog jazz, like as closest to progressive jazz as you're gonna get. Not to mention what a creative sound they put together on this album. They used every instrument. They probably went into alto music. They went up to the cashiers like, how can I help you? And they're like, give me the store.
Especially Pedro Aznar. He does vocals, guitar, marimba, okay, he plays every instrument that's ever been created.
Without further bovine excrement, have you heard?
Have you heard?
While this is obviously Pat Metheny's album, his incredible castmates steal the show on many of these tracks. Armando Marcal absolutely molests the ride cymbal. Lyle Mays with the irresistible piano melody to take us into the hook, along with some of the brass contributions on the sections of the hook.
And then, of course, Pat's guitar work is spiritual. I mean, he takes you on a journey with all his different scales and other aspects. It feels like you're at a concert hall, and then Pat flies down on like a falcon and puts you on it, and then flies while he's playing the guitar, and then drops you back off when he's done.
The whole song has a really cool vintage feel. It sounds like some Mad Men shit, like something out of the Jetsons cartoon. The vocals are some fruited chocolate. We have a saying, jazz is like the assorted box of chocolates you get. You're looking forward to all the awesome, like the caramel and like the walnut. And then you got the chocolate that on the outside tastes really good, and on the inside it has some disgusting fruit bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah, the instrumental is phenomenal. It's so good in this song. And then you got ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. The entire song. It's like fruited chocolate. Don't fruit the jazz, please. We want the caramel jazz, no fruit jazz. Nope. I gotta give it to him lyrically though, when he said ba-do-do-do-be-de-bi-da-ba-da-da-bo. I felt that shit. Pedro Aznar kills it everywhere else on the plethora of other instruments he contributes. The best part of the song has to be Pat's solo, around 2 minutes, ripping off rapid fire notes but coming across so subtle at the same time. He's like Batman when he disappears into the background and then boom, out of nowhere he's back. Such a laid back but progressive track at the same time. I give this one an 8.
Give this an 8 as well.
Pedro busting out the melodica and stealing the show. Steve Rodby is much more prominent on bass here as well. Lyle Mays lighting up the piano with probably the most impressive part of the whole song.
Awesome jazz fusion masterpiece. The piano and the organs take you on a ride through the heavens just midway through, halfway. It's just excellent pianist. The title also perfectly captures the vibe of the song as well. Sounds exactly like something you'd put on a summer night. Not to mention the smooth transition into better days ahead. I give this one an 8.5. That was good, actually. I was thinking that. Holy shit. I agree totally. It definitely captures the summer vibe, so I give it an 8.5.
The most interesting aspect of this song is how the guitar, piano, vocals, and melodica keep the same melody for much of the hook, but there's so much interesting percussion and bass work in the background that it's still able to maintain a deep sound.
Metheny takes us through an exotic journey through the undiscovered jungle that lies ahead as he masterfully crafts the melody of the song with his excellent bandmates.
You sound like you're narrating a Discovery Channel episode.
And if you look to the left, you'll see the wild Metheny on his guitar. I just got the jungle vibe theme because of the unique percussion.
Metheny's solo again was the standout part of this song, not just for his work, but also how everyone was able to switch smoothly to a feel that gave him space to play. I give this one a 7.
7.5.
Spring ain't here.
Oh, it's coming.
Here we go.
It's close. Uh-oh.
Here we go. If there ever were a smooth jazz song that you could classify as a banger, it would be this song. The melody is mesmerizing, and Mays and Metheny follow each other and harmonize so well. The steady bongos and maracas make a much more interesting percussion layer than your typical song.
The excellent percussion intro, followed by the smooth, delicate piano, really follows a steady composition, which they also throw in a few breaks to keep your attention throughout. By the middle of the piece, Metheny once again swoops down on his eagle to take you on a journey into the heavens with his guitar.
This is really the song that made me love this album, and also the one that made me realize how incredibly gifted all these musicians are. I'm kind of a guitar pro because I've been playing for around like 2 months now, and I wanted to actually learn Spring Ain't Here, and I went and looked up a cover. As soon as I saw the guy with the fucking Opeth shirt on, it was game over. This is the go-to track for a late night after a tough day. You just want to sit back, relax, and try to break the G string on your guitar. I give this one a 9.
A 7.5.
Olé!
Olé.
The percussion is crazy on the intro, but the coolest part is the bass riff that accompanies it. And the synth layers which Metheny is credited for this album. The odd time signature, the whistle that follows the guitar, and the crash cymbal that takes you into the early guitar solo like you're riding a wave.
This one comes off to me as a serious piece. You can tell by the atmosphere change from the previous songs that it's going to be a journey like no other. Metheny reminds you who's in charge with his non-stop guitar scales and hammer-ons.
Shit, I like this new Metalhead. This is Jazzhead here. You sound like you're pitching at like a cruise or something. Metheny grabs your attention for most of the song, but Maze with his piano steals the back half, carrying the strong melody but also filling in the rest with his technicality, adding more depth. I give this one an 8.
7.5.
This is some Mario Kart shit right here. Like, is this not the shit
I
you
wrote
hear when you're like driving around that mall, right?
I wrote the same exact thing. I literally wrote, this song makes me think I was about to start a Mario Kart race as I throw bananas behind me to secure my #1 victory.
All the fucking dads smoking pot right now watching this. They have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. We've heard some tropical influence earlier on this record, but not as heavily as this one. The steel drum is yet another instrument they add to the ridiculous arsenal they had for this album.
Another fast-paced tempo, masterfully maintained by the percussionist experts, which there's, I think, 17 on here. This song is the definition of fusion.
The song is a great showcase of what jazz fusion can be, keeping the core foundations of jazz but adding that flair and the Latin for a really interesting sound. I give this one a 7.
Give this one a 7.5. Was he singing in Spanish for this one, or was that the other one?
Sí, señor.
Ah, bueno.
No hablo inglés, señor. Por de crisis, señor.
Que nada. That's German.
Mamacita quesadilla margarita, señor.
You want a margarita?
Synthesizer muy bien, no, señor. 5, amigo. Are We There Yet is probably the most diverse sounding track we've heard so far on the record. The percussion in the beginning sounds like I had the crate digger patch open on Logic and I had a seizure on my keyboard.
This piece is the ultimate Frankenstein. The intro brings many different sounds to keep the listener definitely guessing. And then the roaring guitar slides.
Yeah, they came with the energy on that shit.
Right? Wasn't that weird? It was just, I was waiting for jazz. It was like...
Obviously pulling a lot of influence from rock and blues and even old school New Orleans jazz. They pull no punches. The sax sounding synth we heard on the previous track is here as well. Features an insane patch. Then I guess they were hired to compose a soundtrack for a horror movie, and then the funding got dropped, so they were so fucking high they just slapped that song onto the back end of this one. I don't know what kind of LSD they were on when they made this, but fuck, it was amazing. So I give it an 8.
A 7.
And then I guess they also forgot they were making a jazz album, so they were like, what if we do a crossover between Irish folk music and ancient Aztec music and have the intro be from Paranormal Activity?
I think you're onto something.
A return to the album's regular feel, this was one of the more commercially successful tracks on the album. It features that similar style we've gotten used to, but with a little bit more kick and energy. They, however, also appropriately take it down at certain sections, like the beautiful solo from Maze.
I liked that it was back to the normal pace of the album. Percussionist bells and the steady drum beat are a welcome sight, of course, and it definitely changes its pace to keep you engaged. I gave it a 7.
The album Closer is a showcase of two of the biggest stars of the album, Metheny and Maze, playing a somber and emotional tune. Another nice add to the Suicide playlist.
Oh yeah.
Certainly a brief one, but it's appropriate for the title track for this record.
I think this was an excellent closer to the album, and I believe it truly captures the emotional feeling of receiving news from home or a letter from home. Piano definitely sets the mood perfectly.
Truly has the feel of an album closer and almost sounds like the perfect soundtrack to opening up a letter from home. So I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8.
Overall, this is one of my favorite jazz albums ever. The group shows the technicality of classical musicians while putting together interesting and diverse compositions on every track. The atmosphere created on this record is unlike anything we've reviewed so far on this channel.
Listening to this album, I feel as if my IQ has increased by 100 points. And now I am on an enlightened plane of a god among men. A rich individual who only has time for those who are worthy of my own valuable time. I'm sure as I listen to more of these works of jazz, my intelligence will only continue to climb to newer heights, unthinkable by even the world's greatest scientists. I love this album.
I give this one an 8.
I give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah.